Welcome back to our Bayview studios, everyone. We're here at the Bayview studios instead of at our SANDCAST studios because Producers 2, right yonder, is asleep. And the odds of him waking up during this episode are so astronomically high because we've been waiting on his nap. But we're on a deadline here, people. And so we're just saying, you know what, screw it. If Producer 2 wakes up mid-nap, mid-episode, then he's just going to come on and you'll have sleepy-eyed Producer 2. But for now, we are rolling for our road to Paris following the Brasilia Elite 16. It has been a hectic stretch of beach volleyball. I mean, we just keep cranking out these road to Parises because, or I guess it'd be roads to Paris, wouldn't it? Because there's just event. After Delaney, Producer 1, she says it's road to Paris is road to Paris instead of roads to Paris. Because we've gone from Mexico to China to Brazil. So God bless everyone. Bless your hearts if you made that trip from Mexico to China to Brazil. Nasty travel. So Trevor Crabb had a 50-hour itinerary, contemplated retiring during his layover in San Francisco. Didn't do it. Glad he didn't because he ended up qualifying, him and Theo Brunner, even though they took a 13th. If you come out of the qualifier with 1 day to recover after a 50-hour trip from China to Brazil, you've done something incredible. And it was funny because after the qualifier, I thought, okay, you know, that there's probably not going to be enough significant that happened during this event to warrant a road to Paris because both the Canadian women's teams lost first round of the quali. Lily and Paula, the team chasing Sarah Pavin and Molly McBain, lost in the quali. The Klinger sisters lost in the quali, and I thought, okay, either Chase and Miles have to do something special, the Grimalts have to do something special, Carla Borger, Sandra Ittlinger, they have to do something special, or guess who? Zoe Verge-Depre and Esmee Bobner have to do something special. And what a time to do something special for Zoe and Esmee. So coming into it, they had never medaled in an Elite 16. Their best finish in an Elite 16 was a 5th place, and that was at the Paris Elite 16 in 2022. And if they have 9 lives, they used at least 3 of them in Brasilia. So they needed a 24-22 3-set win over Lara Ludwig and Luisa Littman just to break pool. Then in the first round of elimination, who are they playing? Melissa Humana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson, a team that they had never beat, a team that they had never scored more than 17 on in a set. And here they are down 17-20 in the second set. Mel and Brandy cruising per usual. And what do Zoe and Esmee do? They come all the way back, beat Mel and Brandy in 3, march into the quarterfinals. Their best finish in Elite 16 already. They would have passed Anouk Verge-Depre and Joana Mater, flip-flopping the lead once again after Joana and Anouk took it after a silver medal in Xiamen, but they pushed it even further. They swept Agatha and Rebecca, who were playing phenomenal beach volleyball, the best I've seen from Agatha in a long time, and that's saying something because at 40 years young, she's pretty much just peaking right now. Sweep them, they get into the semifinals where they play Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth. And after a 3-set loss to Kristen and Taryn and Kristen post on Instagram, they say, remember the names Zoe and Esmee because they are going to be really good for Switzerland in the future. And I think that they had it wrong because I think that Zoe and Esmee are really good right now. They remind me a lot of the makeup and the run of a Kelly Clays and Sarah Sponsel. Kelly Clays now, of course, is Kelly Chang. But they were just this young team. They were knocking on the door, just knocking, waiting for their breakthrough. And you knew it was just a matter of time until they broke through. And then they just made that huge breakthrough, won that gold medal in Sochi, won it the next week in Ostrava. And it seems to be what Zoe and Esmee are doing right now. They won that gold medal at the Guadalajara Challenge a couple weeks ago. That seemed to be their breakthrough. They proved that it was no fluke, ended up winning a bronze medal, beat Katja Stam and Raisa Scone in the bronze medal match. And Katja and Raisa, they were hot coming into this. They took a silver medal at the Topeka Elite 16. Their only loss in that tournament was 17-19 and 3 in the finals to Nina Brunner and Tanya Huberly. And then their only loss prior to the bronze medal match in Brasilia was a 3-set loss to Duda and Anna Patricia, who are playing some of the best volleyball they've ever played. And so Katja and Raisa, they were smoking hot coming into it, ended up beating them for the bronze medal. So Zoe and Esmee win their first Elite 16 bronze medal. They bring in 1,000 Olympic points. So they jumped up to 7,900 points in the Olympic standings. That puts them at number 14, and they're now 460 points ahead of Anouk and Joana. Now, how big is 460? So even if Anouk and Joana were to win a challenge, and there's one challenge remaining, that's the Staria Blanki Challenge in Poland, that still wouldn't be enough to retake the lead over Zoe and Esmee. What Anouk and Joana need, if they were to retake the lead in one event, which is what's happened this entire season in 2024, literally every single event, there has been a flip of the lead. So Anouk and Joana need a bronze medal or better in Elite 16 to retake the lead over Zoe and Esmee, and that is with Zoe and Esmee not gaining any points. So bronze medal or better in an elite, they need to get a 5th or better in a challenge to tack on points. And so Anouk and Joana will probably need to have a point-scoring event in at least 2 out of the 3 remaining Olympic events. There's the Espino Elite 16, the Staria Blanchi Challenge, and then it finishes up, as it always does, with the Ostrava Elite 16. So Anouk and Joana will need to score points in at least 2 of them. Now, they need a 5th or better in a challenge, a 9th or better in Elite 16. Realistically, they need a podium or 2 to pass Zoe and Esmee, because as well as they're playing right now, and they are playing fantastic. So Esmee had 29 aces. Zoe was number 3 with 12. That's how good Esmee served. And it was funny because you look at their stats, and their side out was actually lower than their opposing teams. Their hitting percentage were just about average, but their service pressure was so high that it bailed them out time and time again. And so when you serve like that, you're always in a match, and Zoe and Esmee are always in it. And so they are in the driver's seat for this Swiss women's race, which has just been essentially, this women's race has come down to keeping up with the Verge-Depres. And now it's keeping up with Zoe and Esmee, who are in the driver's seat, pretty much unable to be passed in one event unless Anouk and Joana medal, and I'm not ruling anything out. The Swiss Federation has now medaled in 4 straight events, beginning in Guadalajara, and then, of course, Nina and Tanya won gold in Tepic, Anouk and Joana won silver in Xiamen, and now Zoe and Esmee win bronze in Brasilia. So huge congratulations to them. They deserve a big nap after those travels, as does anyone who made that trip from China to Brazil. Now, on to storyline number 2. So that was really the only major storyline for the women. Lara Ludwig and Louisa Littman, they tacked on a couple points just by virtue of being in the main draw of an Elite 16, but not enough where it was really a major factor. So Carla Borger and Sandra Ittlinger, they did well coming out of the qualifier, didn't break pool, and so they fell just a little bit, but that German women's race is still pretty much airtight. Now, Zoe and Esmee, they won their first medal in Elite 16, as did the Netherlands, Matthew Immers and Steven van de Velde, and what a time to do it. So just last week, I said the Dutch men's race is kind of tight. It's mostly over, and then, of course, I don't know anything. No one knows anything about this Olympic race because Van de Velde and Immers, they just romp through the field, run it straight through into the finals where they met Evandro Goncalves and Arthur Mariana, young King Arthur. They had a huge quarterfinal win, a sweep over Alex Brouwer and Robbie Meeuwsen, which is crucial because that's the team that they're chasing. Now, Van de Velde and Immers, they win a silver medal. They pick up 1,100 points, and that jumps them to number 10 in the Olympic rankings. Technically, right now, they are the number 2 Dutch team. Stefan Bormans and Jorg de Groot are technically the number 3, although at 8,000 points, they're still adding 2 more finishes. They'll be straight in the main draw of Staria Blanchi, straight in the main draw of Espino, straight in the main draw of Ostrava. So they'll add at least a bare minimum of 1,000 points, so they'll be at 9,000. So really, this race is between Van de Velde and Immers and Brouwer and Meeuwsen. And Brouwer even acknowledged that on an Instagram post. He said, "We came away with Olympic rankings points, but our fellow Dutchmen are kicking our asses right now, and they're catching us fast." And so now Van de Velde and Immers are just 220 points behind Brouwer and Meeuwsen. And what's crazy is that Van de Velde and Immers are still dropping a 400-point finish and a 460-point finish. Meanwhile, Brouwer and Meeuwsen are dropping a 600. So a 600-point finish, for reference's sake, is a 5th place in a challenge or a 9th place in Elite 16. So Brouwer and Meeuwsen need to get on the podium of a challenge just to tack on points, or they need to get 5th or better in Elite 16. And right now they're starting in the Elite 16s in the qualifiers, while Van de Velde and Immers are straight into Espino. They're straight into Staria Blanchi. The Ostrava entry list isn't out yet, but you almost have to say, even though they're 220 points behind, that Van de Velde and Immers are in the driver's seat, and they would have been even more in the driver's seat had they won gold, and they were on track to do so. They won that first set against Evandro and Arthur, and it was 18-18 in the second, with Evandro serving, Netherlands siding out. I remember saying on the call with Simon Golding, I said, whoever wins this point wins the match. Can keep Evandro off the line. If they can side this match, this ball out, they are the clear favorites to take gold.
Heavy serve. Bit of trouble here. Immers. Bangs it down the middle. Arthur defends brilliantly. And Evandro bangs it off the block for the point. It's a wonderful play from Brazil.
If Evandro wins this point, it's 19-18 Brazil, and they still have Evandro at the service line. But if the Netherlands wins that point, they side out 19-18. Brazil's going to have a tough time earning a point with Arthur back at the line. And, of course, Evandro enters God mode as he did in Recife. Earns 2 in a row, ends up having a walk-off ace to end the set, and then he just ran rampant through the third set. So another congratulations, parabéns, to a second gold medal and a third medal in the season for Evandro and Arthur. But a huge move made by Van de Velde and Immers. And so that is another big race to follow with 3 events to go on the men's side. And, of course, the race that everyone is following very closely right now, another huge best finish in an Elite 16 goes to Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. Now, the main character in this drama between the United States teams of Chase Budinger and Miles Evans and Theo Brunner and Trevor Crabb was actually Poland's Bartosz Wojciak and Meeuwsen. So Trevor and Theo might put out a hit on Poland after this event. So here's what happened with Poland. Trevor and Theo make the qualifier. They play Poland first round. They play them very well. It's 21-14, 24-22. And, of course, Wojciak, when he's in the mood to do so, I still think he's a top 5 defender in the world, maybe even higher than top 5. He sides out 13-14, plays borderline perfect beach volleyball. And then Trevor and Theo, they do their job. They beat the Bayos in 3. And you got to think, if you beat the Bayos now have to play Poland just to get their first win because the Bayos had already lost to Evandro and Arthur. Theo and Trev play very well against Evandro and Arthur, lose in a crazy 3-set match. And then what happens? Poland gets stomped by the Bayos. Well, not stomped, but 21-18, 21-17, which puts them in a 3-way crazy tie for the last spots in pool. Trev and Theo lose all of the tiebreakers. They end up taking a 13th, but it's not even done there because guess who Chase and Miles get in the first round? Bartosz Wojciak and Meeuwsen. And what happens? Chase and Miles get their first career wins over Poland, putting them into the quarterfinals where they end up losing to Germans Nils Ehlers and Clemens Wickler, who, by the way, my heart is breaking for you guys. 3 straight force. Incredible finishes. Incredible job getting to the semifinals, but it is such a painful finish to get 4 3 times in a row. But Chase and Miles, with a 760-point finish, are now exactly 100 points behind Trevor and Theo. Now, when you adjust for the soon-to-be Norseka inflation that's coming with the Norseka Continental Finals, that is May 12th through 14th. Really bizarre days because that's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something weird like that. And then they'll go straight into, they're actually skipping Huntington. Now, when you adjust for that inflation, Chase and Miles are going to get a minimum, a bare minimum of 720 in the Dominican Republic, and they're going to have the lead over Trev and Theo. And I was actually talking to Tri about this after practice today, and he said, who would you rather be, Trev and Theo, or would you rather be Chase and Miles? And I would rather be Chase and Miles right now because they're going to have the lead going into the last 3 events of the season. And then it just comes down to who's going to perform. Someone is going to have to make a podium. Someone's going to have to make at least a 4th in a challenge, in Elite 16. It's probably going to come down to Ostrava, which Trevor knows very well. That's where it came down to with him and Tri and the Tokyo race. So this American race, it is just insane. I'm here for it. And by the way, Tri and Came, they have an update for you guys coming tomorrow on our YouTube channel about what they are doing with the Olympic race, but you can virtually consider it a 3-horse race for the Americans' 2 spots, which Andy Benish, Miles Pertain, good to see them back playing good volleyball again. A win over Stefan Bormans and York de Groot. No easy feat. So the last storyline for the men goes to my all-weird team, Marco and Esteban Grimalts. They just inch closer and closer and closer. They made it out of the qualifier, and then they had a big win over Julian Horl and Alex Horst. Similar to how Steven Van de Velde and Matthew Immers beat Alex Brouwer and Robbie Meeuwsen, the Grimalts are chasing Julian Horl and Alex Horst. They beat them in pool, kind of smacked them a little bit, and then they took a 9th, played very well in that 9th place round, so that 9th gave them 600 points. They are now at 72-20 and just 40 back from Horl and Horst. However, the Grimalts are not going to get into Esmee. They don't have the entry points to do it, so they're going to have to make the most of Star Jablonki and hope that their entry points kick in so they will get a shot at Ostrava. But if they do not get a 5th or better in Star Jablonki, it's tough to see how they're going to get into the Olympics if they don't have a shot at Ostrava. So Star Jablonki is going to be everything for the Grimalts, And at this point, you're kind of rooting for them. They're fun when they're playing at their best. Man, they are a fun team to watch. So good on Marco and Esteban Grimalt for just getting hot at the right time. You have to wonder if it's too little, too late, but they've made it very interesting. Now, I don't know if you can hear producer 2, but he has just woken up, so he's going to be fresh off his nap. Now, next up, we're taking some time off, so we have the Norseka Continental Finals coming up. That's right before AVP Huntington. Then we have AVP Huntington Beach. And then we have the finishing final stretch. We have the Espino Elite 16 from May 22nd through 26th. I will be back on the comms for that one. Good to be back on the comms, by the way, for Brasilia with my guy Simon Golding, which I love working with Simon. He's like the Phil Dahlhauser of commentators, where when you work with him, he just makes everyone better. It's so easy with Simon. So much love to Simon Golding. Much love to Clayton Lucas for doing all the assigning for the commentary. After Espino, you have the Star Jablonki Challenge. That is in Poland. And then you have the Ostrava Elite 16. That is where it is going to finish. So we have a little bit of a hiatus. Everyone's going to go home, take a nap, put the legs up, eat some protein, even get some ice cream if you want, recover for this final 3-tournament stretch. And now our freshly awoken producer 2. What do we say on our road to Paris, buddy? Shoots. Thank you, love.